Hi, my name is Al Green. Not that one, but the struggling guy who was in the music industry for years trying to sell talent and songs to agents. The agents befriended me and taught me techniques that I want to pass on to you through my program, which is called You Can Talk, You Can Sell. Anyone who has ever taken this program has excelled in selling and either risen to the top of their company, their team, or the top of their field. It's called You Can Talk, You Can Sell, and you can get it right here. Do you know the magic formula for closing sales, for making sales, and for excelling and being one of the top salespeople on your team? The heartbreaking news is that there is no such thing as a magic formula. You can't formulate the way you talk to people and predict all of their reactions. There's a number of variables that might arise when people decide to engage with you. And you have to look at every sales presentation as being completely unique, unlike any that goes before it. Yes, you can start with the same approach and introduction, and it's very possible that you could pick up a few extra pointers by some of the things you say and the questions you ask. But the key is to understand what are the right questions to ask. Not just to ask a list of questions, but what questions you ask one customer might not apply to the next customer. So what we do is we adjust, because life is about adjusting and sometimes having to improvise, but so is sales. When you are engaged in a sales presentation, a sales pitch, if you will, you can't just always lead off the same way. Nothing is really cookie cutter. It has to be adjusted to the situation, to the person. For example, years ago I sold to a photo lab, and the person who I had to meet with had to have specialty lighting so that when people walked through the halls, their eyes didn't change with dilation, so that when they walked back into the lab, which had to be a darkened room, that they weren't unable to see and spot specific details. That's a completely different situation. So now I walk in there. I can't exactly put on my sunglasses indoors, but it was a different kind of lighting. They had these red lights in the fluorescence in the ceilings to keep down the amount of change that the irises go through. Every situation has to be different. When you're selling technology, or you are selling to anybody that's doing something that's a little bit more than just buying a widget or buying a mop, there is going to have to be a discussion. Just like when you get into high-ticket sales, one of the sales areas is real estate, and also an area of, let's say, remodeling. If you're a contractor and you're trying to get a job for remodeling, let's say, somebody's house, maybe they want to add on a second story or an addition to the house. That is not going to happen by them just calling you up saying, I'd like to order an addition, and you tell them how much it's going to cost, and that's it. There has to be a meeting. There has to be a discussion. You have to gather information. You have to do a walkthrough. You have to look at the available materials that are legal to use and that coincide with the construction, so that you're not making some kind of weird change that'll be affected in the future. You have to deal with permits, you have to deal with financing, hiring talent, and getting the right kind of tradesmen that know what they're doing. And there has to be every detail covered, from painting all the way down to running plumbing and electrical. This is only done by a lot of discussions, and a good contractor, an experienced one, will know exactly what to ask, because he's done it and he knows what's involved. You can't just wing that. And experience teaches you that. Now, if you're a beginner, then you take from an experienced person. My clientele and the people that are learning from me understand that I've put in over 4 decades in sales and consultation and sales training. And I'll be honest with you, it's my experience and all the mistakes that I made that doesn't lead me to guiding anybody into any formula. It's basically like when a doctor has to do a surgery. They have to plan for every little detail, and sometimes things happen, and you have to adjust, and the expertise is knowing how to adjust, not just necessarily just going in during a surgery and doing what they have to do and getting out, although a lot of technology is leading us there. The fact of the matter is that you might run into people that at first they don't like you, but that doesn't necessarily mean they won't do business with you. There are a lot of people that are very effective business people that a lot of people, for some reason, they don't like, and they don't have a great reputation for being likable, but they keep making the sales. Now, why does that happen? Why does that happen? What's the deal going on there? Sometimes people need what they need or want what they want, and they're not buying necessarily the person, although it helps if they like the person. They're buying a product or a service. And the best representatives aren't always the best people. So if you add to the fact that you're a better person and you're a good people person, yeah, that'll make it a lot better for you. But when I talk to beginners, people who are absolutely at the outset, and they've been working for maybe a month and they're struggling because sometimes in some industries it's very hard to hit the ground running. And many companies look for people that can do that. And they hire people, and believe it or not, there's a very large percentage of new people that start a job and stay there for years at a time. It takes a great deal of effort and concentration and belief in the product to stay with a job. I know because I've had jobs where I've stayed for 3 months and jobs that I've stayed for 13 years. And when I was doing my coaching, it was only because of the fact that I learned something about how to run that business. And that's a business that's different than possibly your business. So I can't tell you how to run your business. I can only tell you how you can be the best that you are and adapt to the situation and run your business the way it's supposed to be run based on you. The companies are mainly looking for results. Many companies do want you to do it their way. But in the end, all they care about is if you're doing the results. I've been up against some of the toughest salespeople, and they have absolutely done things their own way and not the way that the company wants. And I once met with a vice president of sales at a very large company, a nationally traded company. I had an interview with him, and I said, if I were working for you, would you care if I'm at the beach every day until 11 o'clock, as long as I bring in 20 times more sales than my co-workers? And he said, well, yeah, but if you had that time at the beach, you could be using that time to work and make even more money. And I said to him, that might be true. But for me to take that time relaxing at the beach, that's what gets me to concentrate later on in the afternoon. What do you care if I'm bringing you the money? And he goes, well, you have a point. And I've noticed that I've been with a lot of companies that have very strict rules about how you're supposed to work. And that's okay. You have bosses that you don't like and bosses that don't like you. That shouldn't make a difference, because when you produce, the company doesn't look at whether or not you have a great relationship with the boss. They look at the results that you're getting and that the boss, the sales manager, is getting through his or her team. And there is no cookie cutter type personality either. You have one supervisor that's acting one way and treats his team in one way different than another way. And you might be on a different team with a different kind of a person. So you have to look at it this way. When people are born, no matter how much you try to train them to be a certain way, they usually end up being who they are. And a sale is pretty much like having a child. You get in and you develop it and you watch it grow. And you start trying to guide it. But the best sales are the ones where you have mainly made an impact to that customer and you don't have to tell them what to do or what to buy. They choose on their own because you've motivated them. Isn't that great to be a motivator? And you should always, if you're a student, always look to the people who have the experience that can give it to you, because they're saving you years and years of you making mistakes. Something we all want to do. We all want to be in a place where we don't make mistakes. However, this is life, and we do make mistakes. We all do. So don't worry about your mistakes. You can recover. And if you're not happy in the job that you're at, just remember you've got yourself a profession where you could work just about anywhere and get a job with a different company. And yeah, there's chances that you take, but I've done that many times just to test the water to see, gee, I wonder if I could sell advertising. And I went to work for an advertising agency and convinced them that I could sell it. And then I worked for a company that sold land leases. And I thought, gee, I wonder if I could do that. I got certified, I got trained, and I did it for several months. And then I realized after a while that this is not what I want to do. And I moved on to another position. And some positions I stayed with for years at a time. But the training that I took and the people I studied with and the mistakes I made and the people that I trained, I learned more through who I trained and what I helped them do than doing it myself first. I did things myself a certain way, but I noticed that as I was explaining it to other people, I was adding things that I wasn't even thinking about that turned out to work for them because they told me what they needed and how they were, okay? So what we want to do is cover that in the webinar, and I look forward to hearing from you. So stay tuned, and I will see you soon.